Hello everyone, welcome to Word Funk. I am Leon Thomas. I am joined, as always, by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. Guys, how you feeling? How you doing? Austin and I had a very long conversation about stuff before we did on the air. It was so funny, and that is always a good sign when the best stuff is just completely lost. But we're going to try to pick it up. Johnny,
Yeah.
How are you? How are you doing?
I'm tired.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about your time.
Are you excited for spring break? Woo!
Our spring break is already kind of coming past.
Oops.
It's come and gone. Because we don't really get a spring break. That there's that period of time. There's a period of time between the beginning of the year and then Easter that I think they commonly refer to as the suicide stretch. Because
oh gosh.
Well, that's apparently when most students used to off themselves because they'd get stuck with these long periods of activity and no hint of a break. So a few years ago in British Columbia, they instituted a holiday, and that didn't cure anything. But that was back in February. So the next long weekend we have isn't until Easter.
Wow, this is not what I was expecting when I said, "How are you, Johnny?"
Oh yeah. Johnny's in a great place today.
Good.
It's and time. That's it. 70 seconds to first talk of suicide, gentlemen.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Try to recover, Leon.
Okay. I have a topic I want to talk about. It's going to start off a little me-centered, but then it's going to get into wider stuff.
Wider stuff like...
Meaning it will not be specific to me. It'll be a thing that we all kind of know about and maybe our audience would be interested in. So don't go away just because I start talking about my own shit, because this involves all of us. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm working really hard on the upcoming Left Behind giant-sized feature-length episode, and I don't get too nervous when I have to talk about religion in the episodes because I do a lot of research and I try really, really hard. I'm not always perfect, but I hope people see that there is a lot of effort there. But I realized upon, doing even more and more research and learning even more about Christianity lately, that when it comes to Christianity, I can't be right even when I'm right. It's not possible.
Because it contradicts itself within its own texts and dogma, or...
Partly, but for a lot of things.
Okay.
It occurs to me that discussing religion, well, not just in general, but specifically Christianity, since that will be the focus, is challenging, and not just because religion is a contentious issue in an intersectional way, among people of faith and secular people like myself, and among people of faith and people of differing faiths. But Christianity is contentious within its own borders. That's where it gets complicated for me, because it means I can never say the correct thing, just the correct thing to some Christians, but not others.
Yeah, I remember you got the one commenter who was very mad. You called Catholics Christian the one time?
Yeah, for example that.
Just for instance.
A lot of that is ignorance of one's own faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you a couple stories about that, like that. And the other is that...
But Leon, how can I be ignorant about my own faith if I belong to it?
Okay. And the other is that even trying to find the bedrock of Christianity is still not firmly agreed upon when there are a multitude of theories about biblical sources.
I'm pretty sure the bedrock of Christianity is Judaism. Am I not?
Okay.
Am I not right there? Is that a simplification?
But even in that, source criticism is something I'm reading about a lot more lately, which I'm sure Austin knows a ton about, and Johnny probably too.
Are you learning about the Synoptic Gospels?
But for anyone in the audience who's like, what? It's because I didn't know a lot of this when I was young and in Catholic school. But it's the study of authorships of the books of the Bible, and that shit branches into redaction criticism, which is a little more self-explanatory. Like apparently, and like I said, like growing up, I didn't know this, but apparently until like the 18th century, it was just sort of agreed upon, at least in Christian circles, that the author of the Gospel of Matthew was definitely Matthew, like that Matthew. And even though biblical scholarship does not swing that way at all, I mean, well,
plot twist! It was a Stephen King work.
He has range.
Stephen King.
He really does. He really does. I mean, I'm blown away by his retelling of the Book of Job.
It's good. But that is totally how it was taught to me in Catholic school, and people don't look into it any further if you go to you're raised in some denomination of Christianity, and that's what you're taught when you're young. Like the nuns never said, and now let's talk about the documentary hypothesis. That was just not a thing. Like we had a class called religion. We only really learned about what religion.
I'm sorry. In Catholic school, you had a class called religion.
I know.
Did they just stand around and pat themselves on the back?
we talked about the Bible. But
hey
there was
everybody,
no part where...
we feel really guilty today, don't we? Yes, we do.
Yes.
No, we read from the Bible or simplified versions of it, but there was never a point when the nun, whose name I cannot remember, said, like, boys and girls, raise your hands if you know what the Q source is. It just was not.
Can we
thing.
call her Sister Machine Gun? just for a placeholder.
Sure. And this is just the stuff that's debatable.
Hold on. I need to make a note for season 3. Hold on. Sister Machine. Okay. Good. We're good.
Okay. But no, that's just the stuff that's like debatable. I mean, but you could show something irrefutable, like text on a page, and they will say it's not there. Like in my episode on, I briefly mentioned that there are some discrepancies in the Gospels. And that wasn't me being like a smartass, like, ooh, did anyone ever know? No, it's like, that's known. It's obvious. Christian scholars don't claim that the words are the same because they can't. They claim there are reasons why. What I'm trying to say is, like, I'm going to be diving even deeper into biblical scholarship in order to do my Left Behind episode.
Is this Left Behind episode you're doing? I'm sorry to jump in again, but I mean, as is my specialty, is this about like all of the adaptations of like Left Behind, or is this particularly the Nicolas Cage vehicle?
No. It is about there are explicitly, or at least officially, there are 5 Left Behind movies. There are tons of movies about the Rapture.
Yeah.
But specifically, like branded Left Behind, there are 5. I only thought there were 4. But apparently,
I'm watching
a 5th
on Hubo right now. I'm watching
Okay.
a Rapture TV show, The Leftovers. I'm watching that.
Yeah.
And it's good. But then I was like,
Good.
when you're like Left Behind, I'm like, are we gonna get Kirk Cameron and Nicolas Cage in the same episode?
Yes, we are.
Oh, Leon, say it again.
But that's the thing. No, that's okay. But
so good.
okay.
Saving that MP3 for later.
when I was like thinking up the episode, I just thought Rapture episode about Rapture movies. There are so many that if I tried to even cover like 10 minutes each of all the, quote unquote big ones, it wouldn't do justice to anything. So I decided, okay, let's just focus predominantly on the Left Behind movies, because after watching the 3 Kirk Cameron Left Behind movies and rewatching just today the Nicolas Cage Left Behind movie, it's a very, very different adaptation. So it's a completely different movie. So it's not like I have to like skip one. I can talk about those 4, and I can talk about the 5th that was released just last year that I had no idea about. But the point is, like, no matter what I do, and I'm going to try very, very hard, it still won't be accurate to someone else who thinks the same words we are both looking at come from somewhere else and mean different things, because consensus is just not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most famously, I think my favorite thing about the Bible once said was, I think, a U.S. senator who once said, if English is good enough for Jesus, then...
Fucking hell.
Is that a real quote? I heard someone say.
It may have been false, because that's kind of one of those things that it's like, you read it on the internet, buddy. Can anybody be that stupid? But
that's the confirmation bias stuff where like I'll see somebody who like doesn't know the difference between Obamacare and the ACA or something, and I'm like, haha, look at that idiot rube.
Yeah.
But it's like obviously that's cherry picked to incite my liberal anger and to make me a butthurt SJW, as they say.
Okay, I'm looking. I wanted to look this up now because I was wondering whether or not this was apocryphal.
Yeah.
It's like attributed to a bunch of people, like Michelle Bachmann.
Yeah.
According to PolitiFact, she did not say that.
Okay.
But it's she said a lot of dumb other shit.
Oh yeah, certainly. But I always try to be like careful about like immediately like reflexively retweeting stuff like that when I see that, because it so validates my worldview that it's suspicious when it's like, oh, a person I already have preconceived notions about said something provably wrong. Mm-hmm. Got him again.
Yeah, like there's a as much as I like almost violently hate our president. Mm-hmm. There's this like graphic of him like on a talk show, and there's text next to him of him, finger quotes, saying, if I were to ever run for president, I would run as a Republican because Republicans are all stupid. He didn't say that.
Yeah.
That was like proven to be wrong. It sounds like the kind of thing he would think, which is why I assumed it was true when I saw it. But then I looked it up because I was like, wait a minute. But no.
I know. It's
he said
when you see that quote, that special quote, and you're like, no. But
Why do we need to make stuff up? He says worse stuff on camera all the time.
I think that particular graphic was made like in the onset of his campaign.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that while he was in the process of being elected.
Yes. I mean, he was always bad. We just didn't have enough bad quotes at that time.
But yeah, I mean, not to take it back to religion too much for too long.
Take it back, Austin. Take it back to religion. Drop the bass.
I went to school for that a bit, and one of the exercises we did was take like the different scripts in the different languages and then compare them to see what has been changed over the years. And like it's the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all tell the same story, but it's repeated 4 times and a bunch of stuff is changed, which obviously they can't all be true. And there's a bunch of different explanations for that. So sometimes it's just like the bias of the observer, or like one of them was copied from a different papyrus, or
people got wonky memory,
or some of it's like, oh, it's symbolic. But there's some that just simply can't be reconciled. One is the rapture stuff, where in one it says, oh, Jesus is going to come back, and there's going to be 1,000-year reign of like him on earth with his saints and whatnot. And the other one is he's going to come like a thief in the night and steal everyone, and everyone will just be left behind, which is obviously the basis for some of those movies. But they both can't be true, and yet they're both in the Bible. And there's just not much you can do about that, because I mean, we've found the old papers that these things are copied from. It's not actually a mystery. It's not like Judaism, where there's like the Talmud, where it's like hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years of people writing about interpretations, and then we have all these theories and stuff. Christianity is much newer.
Yeah,
we know
and
where
everybody was like,
from.
good enough for me. Done. Let's call it a day. Finished. First book in the can.
Like we have pretty good ideas about who wrote some of these, or like what the context, like what they're referring to. Like we can kind of decode a lot of this stuff, and you have to like be willfully ignorant to think otherwise. Sometimes some stuff is legitimately open.
I don't know if you have to be willfully ignorant, Austin, because in my experience, a lot of the ignorance I see is incidental.
I mean, once presented with the evidence, I suppose.
Yes, that's different.
Yeah, there's a difference between, I guess, casual ignorance and willful ignorance. The person who was in my this is definitely a case of willful ignorance. Like I said, I mentioned, I think in passing during my episode on The Last Temptation of Christ, not the Passion of Christ. The Last Temptation of Christ, I mentioned that there are some discrepancies in the Gospels. I wasn't trying to be a smartass. It's just, true. Someone went into the comment section, like, months and months after I posted it, so I was long done talking about it. But he said something like, "You're ignorant. That's stupid. This guy's stupid. There's no differences in the Gospels. There's none at all." And I said, "No, there actually are." And then I didn't go through my Bible in that moment. I just very quickly, you can very quickly Google this and say, "Oh, here, and here." Like, here are a few examples. I mean, you can read them all yourselves, and you will notice there are some noticeable differences, not just in the the language that they use, but like very specific things, like certain the times someone did something is different for like things that are just like mathematically very clearly one is not the same as the other.
But what you are neglecting to mention, Leon, is that Google are the devil's whispers.
but that's the thing. This is the difference between casual and willful ignorance. Like, if he just didn't know, and I showed him, and he said, "Oh, okay, my bad, I guess," and then explained why he thought that they were different and it wasn't a big deal, that would be fine, I guess. But no, he said, "No," but after seeing them, he says, "I defy you to find me one." And I was like, "No, I just did. Like, these, for example, this isn't like," and I tried to explain, it's like, this is not, it's not debatable whether or not the text is different and whether they are differences. Biblical scholarship is more like, why is it different, and all kinds of things like that. But I mean, this is one thing and this is another thing. And he just kept saying, like, "I would like to see you find me one." I'm like, oh my God, we're done now. That is as willful as ignorance as there could be.
I mean, we actually have like terms for like some of the differences in some of the sections, like the certain like denials of Christ and the what's the fucking guy at the Pontius Pilate, and like the way he reacts to the crowd. Like, there's like specific moments which are like famously different, and like scholars like have like written books about like, why is this one this way and this one is. It's like, it's not a secret. It's not like you're Da Vinci coding this motherfucker.
Right. When I had to do the thing on the Passion of the Christ, I had to learn why the blood curse is in here and not in others.
Yeah,
that was uncomfortable to learn about. But it was necessary.
That's the thing about the Gospels is they have, so like they're mostly the same, but the ways in which they are different are thematic. And like the Gospel of John is anti-Semitic, my dudes.
Yeah, the differences are ideological, not superficial.
And the Gospel of Matthew is actually really pro-Judaism, as like, "I came to fulfill, not to abolish," or something is the line. And then in John, it's like, "The Jews are doing this. Look, everybody, it's the Jews." It's like, yo. And there's just like little things. Like, one of my favorite, I just checked and it has a Wikipedia page. There's
everything does, Austin.
I know.
It's so helpful.
But I didn't know this. There's a Wikipedia page for this biblical character, the naked fugitive.
What? How did I miss that in the Bible?
From the Gospel of Mark.
How could you possibly miss the naked fugitive? The seminal,
I know.
The seminal porn remake of the Harrison Ford 1996 classic.
Oh my!
Mark 14:51. "And a certain young man followed him, wearing nothing but a linen cloth, and they seized him, but he left the linen cloth and ran away naked." And then that's the quote from the Bible, and then the quote Wikipedia, like the text that follows on Wikipedia, is, "The parallel accounts in the other canonical Gospels make no mention of this incident."
I want to know his origin story.
Yeah, what was he doing? Fugitive?
What did he do immediately afterwards? That's what I really want to know.
This is okay. So this person is like literally running away after Jesus gets arrested. It's just like a random streaker who's like, "Oh damn, they're snatching people up out here." he just runs away. But yeah, like, it's like stuff like that. Like, it's like a weird random. It's not not like it disproves anyone's religion. It's just a weird detail.
Right.
God, we've gone 20 minutes on
this.
Well,
maybe that was a joke.
One of the things, like, one of the things that I find to be pretty fascinating about the observations of the Bible is when people fail to recognize the Bible as a work of people, and seem to think that means that everything in it is divine, that it's all truth, and that's a really weird standpoint for me, because that really makes your religion really inflexible. Whereas if you actually, if you're like, yeah, I mean, this is the earthly human interpretation of the Word of God, you're not denouncing God, you're not denouncing the sanctity of the message in the Bible, but you are saying, as messengers, human beings are imperfect, which, look, is, right there in the Word of God. We are imperfect things, Then you can be like, this bit doesn't work. But when you kind of, insist to accept the whole thing as being divine, man, that's a really that must just ruin your Tuesday mornings.
Well, a lot of the books have identified authors both in the text and throughout history. Like this one will be like, hey, this is a letter from this guy to this guy. Like it's not, it would never purport to be the Word of God.
I've read the Bible.
No, this is not just for you. I'm saying, but some of them are supposed to be the Word of God by tradition. Like the Pentateuch is the first 5 books, and that is supposed to be from God to Moses to us. Although he dies, which is, how did he write it after he died?
Moses was an interesting dude. He could make a great omelet, and he knew how to surf like mad. But the dude couldn't write a book very well.
I mean, he invented some of the techniques. The foreshadowing, out of this world. How did he know the snake was going to come back?
Nuts, man.
It's a killer setup, my dude.
Okay.
That's not accurate.
No.
Except for the omelet bit. The omelet bit is 100% true. Dude was a wizard with eggs. But not a real wizard, because, false idols and shit like that.
Yeah. So, I could go on this topic for a million years. I have some other stuff. There's also some stuff me and Leon are talking about before we came. Johnny, if you have anything, do you want to keep this train rolling before we alienate everyone?
I'm not sure I really have much at all to talk of this week. I mean, I've been keeping to myself mostly. I think I mentioned to you guys earlier that March is a very, very busy month for me, so it's mostly just kind of about keeping my head down and making sure that I'm going in the right direction.
Oh.
Johnny, you just sit back and relax in this one. We got it.
Don't worry, I'll chime in. I'm here. I showed up. I got skin in this game, boys. Let's do it.
Okay. I have another topic, but I don't want to dominate the conversation. Austin, what would you like to talk about?
So I have a longer topic that I definitely want to talk about, but here's a shorter one real quick, because I'm not sure if we talked about this before, so stop me if this sounds familiar. All right. Recently, my friend Cam came over, and he said, Austin, you have to listen to this band. And he kept telling me about it, and I was like, I'll get to it, and I kept putting it off, because that's human nature, but I eventually got around to it, and this definitely sounds like a thing Johnny would have recommended it at some point, but I can't recall if it's actually that, or it's just sounds like very Johnny thing. The band is called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
No, I haven't said anything about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Okay, but we can all agree that's a very Johnny-ass sounding band name, right?
Yeah,
I'm not crazy.
I can see the blank space in my CD collection where that disc has to go.
Okay.
What did they do?
Well, that's the thing. He came over. He's like, "Oh, you have to listen to this. You have to listen to this." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'm sure it's some weird SoundCloud-ass college band or some goofy Lonely Island joke shit." But no, they're an Australian psychedelic band in the vein of The Doors or the Black Angels or harder Velvet Underground or something. And they're modern. They started recently. They have a record that literally came out last month, and this is the one he was recommending to me. That album is called Flying Microtonal Banana.
Oh. now that I know they're a serious band, it's less funny to me now. I just like the name.
I know. Well, that's why I went in. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be some mouth moods shit or something. This is gonna be a good joke time." But no, they're just a weird rock band, and they do pretty good 60s throwback garage acid stuff. And it's like, that's like, there's nothing funny about them besides the names they give their stuff. Like the rest of it is just like pretty good music. Which isn't as interesting to talk about, but obviously I had to like just throw the name King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard at y'all, and also the microtonal banana.
You were wise to do this.
Thank you. I've now passed this curse on like Ringu, and now you all have to give it to one other person in 7 days or you die.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Right.
The other thing I want to talk about is, oh goodness gracious. So this is like an emotionally vulnerable place. This is a safe space for us where we can all just get together and like just be our true selves and communicate and be open.
Maybe you guys can.
Okay. Well, I just want to know there's no judgment because
No.
I can't stop thinking about Magic the Gathering.
That's fine.
It's like all I can think about recently. It's a lot. And
No. That's adorable.
Thank you.
You're fine.
And I didn't know how to bring this up on the show because it's just not interesting to anyone else. But the kind of the inroad here, like where I'm going to go with this, is recently Hearthstone, Blizzard's trading card game, underwent some huge changes. And like there was a headline on, I think, Kotaku about how a professional player who's made over $100,000 in their career is quitting Hearthstone because these changes are just a bridge too far. The game is ruined. And it got me thinking about how Magic has survived for like 25 years, basically, and how, looking back, so much of it was bad, from like the art to the balancing to the marketing and stuff. Like they fucked up so much, and yet it endures. And I find a lot of that interesting, and like I can get into it if you want. But I guess the main thing is how much pressure there is in the fandoms around these things, because I like poked my head into like the Magic the Gathering's Reddits. I know.
Oh no!
Against my better judgment. Well, here's the thing: is they just revealed Modern Masters 2017, which is like a preposterously good set of cards. Like they've grand slammed this bastard. Like holy shit, it looks so good. And I was like, oh man, I bet they're really like, I bet they're so happy and excited. Let's see how they're. And then it's like I opened a closet full of snakes, and snakes just started pouring down at me. I was like, no, please, why is this my life? And it's just like, how do you keep a fan base that big and that engaged? Like there's just nothing you can do, right? Like I kind of feel bad for Blizzard.
What's weird about it, Austin, is that like so many of those fans never leave.
Yeah,
like it is such an amazing thing to see such an impossibly addictive product like Magic the Gathering manage to overwhelm distaste in like players' mouths simply by virtue of being addicting, to where it's like you will see people willfully hand you $70 in currency, all the while complaining about the new set, exclusively to purchase packs of the new set.
Exactly. Like there's every other thread is like, man, Mark really fucked us this time. This game hasn't been good since the original Innistrad. I hate this thing. Anyway, I've put down 250 on MM3.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to pulling Cavender's Souls. It's like, did you just have a psychotic break? What happened?
Exactly. It is just, and I see the same thing happen in video games like all the time. You know, like video games are another thing where it's like, you know, people can't wait to throw their money down to complain about shit.
Yeah. That's the thing we've seen a lot with like Kickstarter. Like, I invested in this. This is mine. Do what I say or you're ungrateful.
Yeah.
And like, me and Leon were talking before we started recording, and this is why I could never be famous or in charge of something so high profile. But we were talking about the reactions to the Dice Funk finale, no spoilers, and they've been overwhelmingly positive. Like I got a ton of messages from people saying like, "Oh, good job!" Like, "Oh, I cried. It was so good." And then there's a couple of people who are like less happy about it, and they have notes, and that's fine. I love feedback. I love people just taking things in their own direction, doing fan work. But there was like one really mean comment that got caught in, I guess, Leon's filter, and he like paraphrased it to me, and it was just like factually wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, how dare Austin do X when I just, like, literally didn't do X? And it's just like, what if I was in charge of something that had a fan base, like, 10 times the size? I would be getting, like, 10 times, like, abusive messages, and then I would quit. Like, I just would. That's not even a question for me. I would just go work at GameStop or something rather than be in charge of something where people are going to be mean to me. Maybe I'm, like, weak and fragile or whatever, but that's just, like, me. And so I'm seeing, like, people who are like, I've made more money in a year playing Hearthstone than Austin will ever make in his life, but I'm done because they nerfed goblins. Like, and I'm just like,
what?
People are just so far away from my experiences. The world is just a prism of different minds, and I can't hold it all in. So, yeah, anybody else want to chime in?
A lot of it speaks to entitlement, I think, and I know that's a word that people don't like being having thrown around the internet these days, because the moment that you try and accuse somebody else of being a little bit entitled, it's like, I don't know, it seems like old hat, the argument about entitlement. But
everyone likes to think that they worked hard for their thing and everyone else is like mooching or lazy.
Yeah,
people get super defensive about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it just,
I don't know.
I don't know that there's really that much else to say about it. You know, when you affix, particularly when you affix your identity to something so much, you see it with all these people who struggled with the concept that there's no such thing as the gamer anymore. Like, gamer doesn't exist. You know, it was like, but that was my everything.
Yeah.
You know, that suddenly it just becomes like, I don't know, like, you think you own it.
There's
Guess
a
what?
screen
Guess
cap
what, buddy?
going
You
around.
don't.
There was a screen cap going around of a Washington Post article, which was like, the Nintendo Switch isn't for gamers, it's for regular people. And like all the comments to that were like, how dare you even say gamer? You get my identity out of your mouth. More. I was just,
that's our word.
No, it's literally that. And like, sometimes I wish that article that Lee wrote, that gamers are dead, was literally what people accused it of being about, because it was totally harmless. But I wish it wasn't. I wish she would have wrote the article people said she did. Anyway, God, can you believe how long it's been since that thing?
Every day I'm reminded of it. I'm like, oh God, I can't believe that. Yeah. I can't believe that that's still a thing. It's people still get their hackles raised up over that.
Yep. Speaking of games, I have Nier Automata. It is in my house, and I could have been playing it for like the last 2 days, but I'm saving it because I have a pellet briefing to write, and it's my little treat to myself for when I get that done. I'm going to get to just binge that entire game over spring break, hopefully.
Word, son.
I really hope it's good, and because then it's Mass Effect like 2 weeks after, and then it's Persona 5 like 2 weeks after that. I am
just not excited about Mass Effect.
I wish I wasn't, because I'm going to fail out of school.
I just can't work up the energy. I just can't. Every time it's like, what do we know about Mass Effect Andromeda? I'm like, I don't care.
Unless you're just going to show me all the hot aliens, like, I don't really need to see anything before going in. So, listen, we all know what we're there for. We're trying to get our Krogan fuck on. Let's not front.
Unless the Krogan's name is Front.
Okay.
In which case, then let's front as hard as we can.
Yeah.
Oh god.
That actually isn't too far off for the Krogan naming schemes.
Not really. If you spell it with a U, I think it's right on.
Yes, exactly.
My name is Front.
They would name a Krogan, yeah. All right, so I'm done talking about magic for the week. But if anybody within the sound of my voice has a Glimmer Void or a Phyrexian Obliterator, hit me up. Slide into my DMs. I'm looking for them. They're too expensive, my dudes. Someone sell me those cards. Anyway, Leon, talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick with Honest Trailers. Not the people who actually make the show. I've seen their work, and they obviously put a lot of effort into it, and I respect a consistent output.
Okay. I know this is a YouTube channel. That's all I know. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's basically it's a like 2 or 3 minute like comedy show that makes like trailers about movies that spoil a lot of it, and also like sort of do it in sort of a snarky but not too shitty way. I haven't seen all their videos, but I've seen some of them lately. It's a very broad appeal show, whereas mine is a niche appeal show. So our business models have to be remarkably different in order to make a profit. A broad appeal show relies on screaming fans. I rely on a demographic that has money and jobs. That is necessary. And by the way, as I'm saying this, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm so much better because I have a niche show. I mean, I could not make a broad appeal show. I am not inherently entertaining, and that would be necessary. But I noticed something when I clicked on a video made by them. It's apparently the first thing you see. A dozen or so YouTube comments like flash at the screen. And there are people like very rudely demanding what Honest Trailers should do next, because apparently the channel showcases this and encourages them to do so. I get the same stuff in my comment section, in spite of the fact that I ask for the opposite. And people ask me like, well, why don't you do it like Honest Trailers does? Because they're big, but I think they have cause and effect wrong. My show would not work the way their show does. If I closed out Patreon or even just Patreon requests, the show would be canceled next week. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to get big before you can start doing that, right?
Yeah, and my show's never going to be that big or even big. I couldn't pay my bills, and I would need to get another full-time job, and there would be no time for Renegade Cut. It would then be, at best, a hobby. But YouTube commenters see, like, Honest Trailer encourage this and think, oh, if Leon just did informal fan voting and lost his Patreon request thing, which is how I make – the commissions is how, like, I make a lot of the money. Then they would think, oh, then he would have the same success. Not understanding like cause and effect. Honest Trailers has broad appeal because people like jokes and 2-minute videos, and like voices that don't sound like mine, which allowed them a lot of fans and allowed them to just do whatever the fans wanted. My show is about Immanuel Kant. Okay, it's not the same thing.
I hear he was a real pissant. He was very rarely stable.
Oh my God! But the point is, the marketing, it can't be the same because the demographics are different. Everything is different. It would not work that way. But it just comes up all the time. And the thing about doing my show by commission is like people used to say, oh, people would stop asking you for free requests if you would just say so in the video. So I said, you know what? Fair enough. That's a fine point. I should take this constructive criticism and I should put it at the end of every episode. And I do. At the end of every episode, I said, if you would like to request an episode, my Patreon is blah.
Yeah, but Leon, here's the flaw in your plan. Nobody ever watches the end of the video.
Yup, that is absolutely true. My analytics show that, and it's not just for me, but in general. Mm-hmm. Once that bibliography hits, people zone out. It is over. About 10% of my audiences watches the end of the video.
I confess to that when the bibliography shows up, I hit the like button. I think about commenting. I check to make sure that I'm subscribed, which I am, and then I leave.
Okay. No, that's fine. You don't need to. You know what I say at the end, basically, and you're already a patron, so you're fine.
That's right, kids. Be like Johnny. Don't be like Johnny.
Sponsored by the Johnny Maloney Foundation.
Yeah, but no, in all seriousness, like people said that, and I said, okay, I'll do that from now on, and it's also in the description of every video. But that's the flaw. People don't watch the end, and I can't put it at the beginning because the mood would change completely if I started every video with another advertisement.
Yeah, people would be like, "Why is Leon a shill now?"
Yeah, it wouldn't work. It would be very bad. And people don't read the description. And I know that because I say in the description what the episode is going to be about. And then people are surprised when it is. So I know that also to be true. Also, that's not even entirely their fault. Because when you click on the video, you can see the description. But you can't see the description until you click on the video.
I do have to point out some funny things here because it's always fun to rag on people who aren't paying attention. But as someone who does a show with Leon, where I
Yep.
frequently have to explain things to him like 2 or 3 times. Sometimes just you have priorities about what you're dedicating your attention to, and sometimes
That is completely understandable.
you just miss the little details, you know?
I know. And I like I said, I understand. So I'm not angry about it.
Yeah.
I just feel like I need to explain to people who say, why don't you do what PewDiePie does?
Oh.
Or something.
I mean, that argument's bananas because
There's
like,
already a PewDiePie.
There sure is.
that too. It's just
For now.
It's just also not the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
The Bachelor is popular. It doesn't mean you should date people on your show. Like, what is? It's just not relevant. They're just different things.
Gosh, I would hate to do that.
I mean, pizza is popular. Like, what? It just has no. There's no actual connection.
Also, you know what also is popular? Tacos.
What?
I ate just a
good.
reckless, irresponsible amount of tacos before we started this.
Do you guys know though? Did you know that pizza tacos are great?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever had one.
mine was just vegetables and rice. So
That'll do.
yeah. Whew. What's my sticky note say on it this week?
Taco pizza is not great though.
Oh, it doesn't go both ways.
It does not go both ways. Pizza tacos are fantastic because they're like kind of like little miniature pizzas that you can kind of like roll up and be like, oh my god, it's a pizza, but it's a taco. And then taco pizza is like, somebody shredded a whole lettuce on top of this thing. No, just me? All right.
I have not had any kind of taco pizza combination at all.
Oh.
So I'm like completely in the dark about all interspecies pizza tacos.
Leon.
Yeah.
Leon. Mm-hmm. Next week, I am going to have a VR experience that I think
tacos?
is going to make you jealous.
Johnny, I find that difficult to believe, but I'm also intrigued by why you think that. Like, how?
Because Ubisoft is coming out with a game next week. All right? Okay.
Yeah.
Called Star Trek. It's not Bridge Commander. What is it?
I thought it was Bridge Commander.
Is it Bridge
Yeah,
Commander?
so-
No, Bridge Commander was an old one.
Is it?
Maybe it
Crew,
is.
right?
Maybe it is Bridge Commander. Okay. Bridge Crew. Yeah. Okay. So Ubisoft is coming out with a game next week in VR called Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Are you a crewman or are you the captain?
You can be
what's your
one
rank?
of several. It is a cooperative multiplayer game where
no.
4 players get together and each get to be a bridge officer.
Yeah, I get why you think I would adore being on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise or something, but I would hate to do it with other people. I would actively try not to do that game.
I'm not necessarily looking forward to that part. But I do kind of feel like the cross section between Star Trek fans and VR fans might have like a couple cool people in there.
I hope. Well, you'd hope so, and you'd think so, but still, just.
But it comes out. It comes out on Tuesday.
Okay.
So I am going to be on a 2-night mission to explore the galaxy.
Okay. Is it always the same thing, or is it like a random Klingon?
There's apparently there's a couple of modes of the game. There's a story campaign that always has like the same kind of thing, but then there's like a perpetually procedurally generated one that's like, oh geez, go and like do this now, and then you go and do that, and then it's like, well, now you gotta go do this, and then you go and do that. So it's I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about it next week, because if it comes out on Tuesday, I'm probably not going to get that much time with it, but I'm looking forward to it. Like, this is one of those VR games that I'm like, oh, this is actually a game. This isn't just like, hey, I made a smoking simulator. Now you too can stand in virtual reality and smoke your favorite brand of cigarettes without any of the adverse health effects. We got JP Morgan. We got Du Maurier. We got menthol lights. Coming soon for DLC. Pipes!
No, vape rigs. It's vape rigs. Obviously,
Johnny.
DLC.
Yeah.
Johnny, while wearing the VR helmet, go into the holodeck and see if the universe explodes.
Oh! I will. Although I don't know, I don't think there's going to be a holodeck because I don't know if it's going to release with next generation tech.
Oh, is it going to be original series era?
I think it's original series / movie because they delayed the game a little while ago. It was supposed to be out back in like February or January or some shit like that, and then they delayed it and they were like, "Hey, as a special feature for the delay of Star Trek Bridge Crew, we are going to be adding the bridge from the original series." So I'm like, "Oh, is that what they're going to be doing?" So we're going to get like DLC that's like, "Now you too can fly the Voyager on missions into the Delta Quadrant." Or perhaps you would like to sit at Lieutenant Commander Data's famous ops position, or be the Wesley Crusher. Nobody's going to be the Wesley Crusher.
The Wesley Crusher simulator sounds terrible. I don't even think Will Wheaton wants to play the Wesley Crusher simulator.
But I happen to think that it looks pretty about as rock and roll as Star Trek gets.
Oh.
I'll give you the appraisal once I actually get my fingers deep into it because come on, how could you not want to, Leon? How could you not want to get on the Starship Enterprise and travel the galaxy with me, your pal Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, if it were with people I knew, it would be a little interesting. I'd have to get a bunch of people I know, and I sure don't know a lot. So there's that. Wait a minute. Wait, I'm actually going to a party on Saturday. That's weird. I know people. I know a few people. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll learn. I'll know more people by the end of the night.
I do realize that the immersion is going to be broken completely the first time I encounter Commander Butt Sauce, but
that would be me. That would be my character.
So we're going to talk about that in the future.
Okay. Sounds good. Austin, do you have any law for us this week? If not, that's okay. But
I do. My legal pad's on the other side of the room, so vamp for just 10 seconds while I go get it. I forgot.
Okay. I mean, hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
Do you think Austin is Banksy because we never see his face much online, and also he hates capitalism?
No.
Oh.
I kind of get the impression he doesn't get to England much.
You know, we just kind of assume Banksy is English because all his stuff is in England. What if he just travels?
Yeah, I mean, he might be, but the thing is that from what I glean of Austin's life, being an impoverished law school student,
that's all a front.
Is it? Oh my God, I can't trust anything anymore.
That's all I'm saying. I wish he were Banksy, because then I could tell Austin that I think his art is a little on the nose.
It would make us cooler by association.
Yeah, but I would hate to be suddenly not the most famous of the three of us. That would just crush me.
I'll bear that in mind.
That's all you have left.
It is. Okay, Austin, so give us the law.
All right, so I have, I think, two pretty interesting contract cases here. First one is this is in like the early 20th century, so before people knew shit about medicine, really. So at this time, there was this company called Carbolic Smoke Ball. Or I think that was the name of the company. It's also the name of their product. So the product
sounds like a product that wouldn't light anybody's house on fire accidentally ever.
It's not like a ninja smoke ball. It's some kind of it's supposed to keep you from getting the flu.
Like vapor action?
You know what? I think it's the whole thing is just bullshit garbage. 'Cause it's not
I fail to
real.
see how a smoke ball prevents you from contracting a virus.
Listen, it's not real.
Here's the thing. Surprise! Viruses don't give a shit.
It's. I mean, if you Google Carbolic smoke ball, you'll see the advertisement, which is the at issue in this case. I guess this is a pretty famous case, and there's also a picture of a lady holding one, and she looks like she's just huffing it. It's just
Maybe
like
they were trying to make a humidifier, but went wrong.
it's literally just like this hand-sized ball with like a thing on top, and I guess you're just supposed to huff it. But it's supposed to keep you from getting the flu. And here's what happened: is they put up this poster, which is the only thing that comes up on Google if you Google this case. And the poster says £100 reward for anyone who uses their product and still gets the flu. It's like a guarantee. Our product is so good, it will positively keep you from getting influenza. In fact, as the bottom of the poster notes, we've deposited £1,000 in the bank, and they're awaiting anyone who can prove us wrong. Guess what happened?
Somebody proved them wrong.
Somebody bought the product, used it, and then got the flu. And they said, where my money? They said, money, please. And,
I hope they said it just like that, too.
And Carbolic said, no. No, they said, no.
No!
Glad that's back.
Yep, and so they got sued. And how do you guys think this comes out?
Well, all right. I mean, I don't know all the laws and regulations as it pertains to false advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Yorsky, I want to see big Carbolic smoke ball fall, okay? This sends a message.
Yeah.
I would love to see, like, a movie about a whistleblower about Big Ball.
Big Smoke Ball. Which,
it would need to
incidentally,
star, like,
was one of my nicknames in high school.
It would have to star George Clooney, and he would have to look really earnest into the camera at some point. Okay. All right. I get what was the exact phrasing of the verbal contract, I guess, with the populace?
Okay, so it wouldn't be verbal because it's on a poster.
Well, all right. I mean, whatever.
I can literally read it to you because
Yeah.
the image is at the first thing on the Wikipedia page, which is where I am currently, even though I read this for class. It says, Carbolic smoke ball will positively cure. And then there's a list of conditions.
Whoa. It will cure? Hold on a second,
will
because that's different than
cure.
preventing.
Listen.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah.
This is 1892. They don't know what dick do. They don't know anything about nothing.
Still.
Will positively cure, and there's a list of things including headache, cataracts, blah, blah, blah. Throat,
Moxie. Extra Moxie.
Whooping cough. Malaria, it looks like. Anyway, no, is that rheumatism? Anyway, the influenza was apparently what the suit was over. Because then
The devil's trap.
It says £100 reward will be paid by Carbolic Smoke Ball Co. And then there's like it's a bunch of really tiny things that I can't read, but it basically says if you contract influenza, and big letters, influenza. In fact, £1,000 is deposited, and then it's like in the bank, and there's bank information.
Okay. Well, that seems like, to me, like they are as explicit as possible about their intentions to give you this money. But I have like a question. Mm-hmm. Like, how does the person who allegedly bought the ball prove that he bought it and used it? I mean, isn't there like a lot of burden of proof thing? Because I could just walk up and say, "Hey, I bought your ball and I'm sick." I mean. Isn't there like a lot of it would require a lot of evidence, and not just medical evidence, but like, I mean, does he have the receipt? Is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, what do you think medical evidence looked like in 1892? It was essentially witchcraft.
No, there was. I mean, no, there were like anatomy books and all kinds of stuff back then. There were like regular doctors and surgery, and
I highly recommend you listen to the medical podcast Sawbones, which is a history of medicine, in which you will quickly realize, basically until like 20 or 30 years ago, we were basically just guessing at like a lot of stuff, like most.
I know,
stuff.
but this is almost the turn. This is almost the 20th century.
Wait, are you trying to tell me
new germs are real?
Austin, are you trying to tell me that cholera is not a vaporously caused affliction?
It's all about the humors, baby.
I'm just saying that in spite of like some ignorance, it's not like doctors didn't exist. People. They did
exist, but you were going to a doctor was all it did really is increase your risk of dying. Like hospitals actually had to do an entire a PR makeover during the last century to be thought of as a place where people didn't just go to die.
Okay. Well, all right. Then I would have to ask this based on that.
Mm-hmm.
How it feels like there's neither of them can prove anything based on limited medical knowledge. But I guess here's how I think it shakes out. I don't think the person gets the money because I think Big Ball always wins.
I mean, this is Carbolic Smoke Ball Co. It's not like Johnson and Johnson or Pfizer.
Right.
It's
right. But I always assume that that any kind of business wins against a person because that's just been my world. But I think they should give the money because it seems very clear what it says on the wrapper, I guess.
I'm looking it up now, and germs were discovered 100 years before this. It looks like, although they weren't observed until after. But the germ theory was.
All right.
I mean, come on, Austin.
Yeah.
Because climate change and everything. It's nice to know that everybody agrees on that.
Yeah, I mean, there are very few things today that are controversial in that field, vaccines. Anyway, where I'm going with this is that don't think of these guys as like Pfizer, right? There's this kind of tradition in this field. They're called patent medicines. You may also know them as snake oil. You could sell anything and say it's medicine.
Yep.
Right.
And it doesn't make you rich or famous or powerful. These were people who were selling balls and saying, sniff this and you won't get every disease.
Which is weird because that's my go-to pickup line.
Oh.
It's the simplest ones that do the most. Anyway, Johnny,
I'm glad I can elevate this podcast. I'm super happy that I can bring us up to a new kind of cultural tier.
I have a secondary question about whether or not doctors today can be sued for being anti-vaxxer idiots, but that's another topic, I guess.
I gotta come down on the side of plaintiff here.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say that when making the claim and then explicitly stating afterwards what would happen if the claim were to be disproved or challenged leaves you open to somebody deciding to challenge and or claim dispute and be like, oh, well, okay then.
All right.
I feel like the guy is right, but I just don't like his chances just based on how these cases usually shake out.
All right, so Johnny says influenza boy, and Leon says carbolic smoke, the ball masters. It comes out for the influenza guy.
Oh, man, I am on fire these past few weeks.
I'm glad.
And it's, as Johnny said, advertisements can say a lot of things, and back then it was even looser. You could make a lot of claims, but when they said, we have deposited money specifically for this, they signaled to the court that this was a real thing that they intended to take seriously. Even though it was absolutely definitely a snake oil scam, they went a little too far and made it seem a little too real, and it constituted an official offer, which the plaintiff accepted by sending them a letter saying, I tried it and I got sick. So
that's one of my favorite XKCD cartoons is a single panel where the narrative text is I can't remember how it goes specifically, but it's not a day goes by where I don't think of the amount of genius and courage it must have come up or it must have taken to come up with the marketing phrase "clinically tested." And it's like two people standing in a bedroom, and one of them's like, "I got the test," and the other one's like, "So you're clean?" And then the other reply is, "So many questions."
Yeah, that's like Mad Men. It's toasted. Like, cool. What does that mean? It doesn't matter. It's toasted. Shut up. Yeah, so I think we think of advertising laws in America, especially as being really lax compared to like other places where you have to tell the truth. So I'm actually not surprised that, Leon, you were a little skeptical of this one, but it's I think it really shows that the court takes very seriously when they can like get bad people. They try, but you have to like hang yourself basically.
Yeah,
and
man.
That's something
take
I've seen a lot.
capitalism seriously.
Yeah, especially with money. But that segues into the second one, which is so there's this golf course, and I guess a car dealership has some sort of fundraiser there, and they put up a sign which says if you get a hole-in-one, you get a free car.
Wow. Nice.
So that event happened, and no one won it. And then the next day, some people came by and golfed, and the sign was still there. And someone hit a hole-in-one. And they went to the car dealership, and it was like, "Keys, please."
Wait, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Who was in charge of putting up and taking down the sign? Was it the car dealership, or was the golf course people or the workers there? Did they do that?
I think it was the car dealership's responsibility because they're the ones who get taken to court, I think.
Yeah.
Unless
I feel like
Yeah. See, this is a companion case to the other one because
this is dirty. This is dirty pool, Austin.
They weren't trying to mislead anyone like the other guys, right?
Yeah.
This was kind of a mistake. Yeah, it's a thinker, huh?
Is there? I'm trying to think of whether or not the court would believe that to be to be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Was there information on the sign pertaining to a special event? Was it like, "Welcome to the car extravaganza"? You'll I don't know.
No, the sign didn't really indicate the specifics of it. It was for a specific like tournament thing, but the sign did not make that explicit.
Didn't have like the tournament title or logo or anything like that.
It was not explicit enough for it to be relevant.
Why didn't they take down the goddamn sign?
Because of Craig. Thanks, Craig.
You always go at these things and you're like so offended that they happened.
It's like, why would you do that? It's just dumb.
Jesus. I'm sorry it happened.
Fucking Craig.
I feel like here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, I feel like that's just like an accident.
Yeah.
It's like if I go to the supermarket and the cashier gives me too much change, I'm going to notice and give it back. But if they do that,
look at the Pope here, huh, Mr. Holiness, or what?
No. I mean, they'll get in trouble, and they could be like accused of being thieves. So that's not cool. But like if for example, I didn't notice, and I like accidentally took $10 from them or something, it wouldn't be reasonable to assume that that's really mine. Like that I should have that's okay because it's they made a mistake. I'm still taking their money.
No, I see what you're saying, but here's the important distinction: taking cash is criminal. And in criminal cases, you need both the mens rea and the actus reus, and this is a contract case. It has entirely different parameters. It's just literally not translatable, and that's like not something that you have to know in your day to day. But they absolutely do not overlap.
See, I sort of feel like this case is going to come down for the car dealership.
I mean, more like morally than legally, but yeah.
No, I even think legally. I think legally this is going to come down for the car dealership because like as far as I know, there are contest laws in America that are just like you can't just win something.
Yeah,
Like
actually,
somebody can't just show up at your door and be like, "Congratulations, you won this." There has to be like an active participation.
it varies wildly from state to state. I know in Florida there's a lot of things that I'm just like not eligible for, and you'll see like commercial like void in Arizona and Alaska. If you're interested, this happened in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Warning: this podcast not available in Maine.
It happened in 1989, so pretty recently. And let's just assume, for the purposes of this question, Pennsylvania has really inclusive contest laws.
I still sort of feel like there has to be you can't just show up at an unattended event and be like, "I did the thing, give me the stuff." Like there has to be some level of participation there. Between like there has to be an interaction between the company and the, shall we say, contestant.
Well, okay, here's kind of a question inside a question. If I say to one of you, let's say I say to Johnny, Johnny, I want you to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. If you do it, I'll give you $10.
Right.
This is an oral contract I'm making with you. And you start walking, you get halfway across, and then I call you on your cell phone and say, I'm revoking my offer, go fuck yourself, and I hang up.
All right, you have a good point.
You cannot make me give you that $10 because that was a unilateral contract conditional on you performing an action to accept my offer.
And then saying the time limit's up, you didn't make it.
Yeah, it sounds really unfair, and it is, which is why you should not accept a deal like that.
Yeah.
So like this idea of like, oh, I participated or I did the thing, so give me the thing. It may not seem fair, but to keep in mind is that there's both bilateral and unilateral contracts, and like what you have to do to signal that you're in.
And this is a unilateral contract.
Yeah, this is someone who put out into like almost like carbolic smoke. They put out into the world, here is a thing. And then other people can say, yes, I will take the thing without necessarily like being in person, which makes it super weird.
Yeah.
And the question is like, is showing up 2 days late to a tournament you did not enter, does that count?
You are not a participant. And I believe they have the rights to revoke that offer.
All right. Leon?
I believe they do have the right to revoke that offer, but I don't feel like it was made entirely clear that they had if the sign was still up. I mean, if they came by and put an X through it while the person was golfing, or took it down while the person was about to swing, I would be like, yeah, well, yep, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Look, in the same way that ignorance of the law, doesn't mean that you can get away with breaking it.
Yeah. It actually depends on the intent qualifications of the crime. Some crimes have intent requirements and some don't.
Yeah, I mean, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, by and large, like on a general playing field, we can say that ignorance of the law is not a defense, right?
Yeah, I mean, generally, I would hope.
So, if you walk into this golf course and the sign is up that's like, get a hole-in-one and win a car, and, like, you didn't have the wherewithal to be like, is that still a thing? Doesn't mean that you're automatically entered into the contest.
That's what I mean by, is it reasonable for someone to go into a golf course and assume that this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, you guys' intuition is very strong and in the right direction on this. Like, you basically identified the issue. And like, yeah.
I'm calling it for the car dealership. Okay. They were like, "Fuck off, Tiger Woods."
It's not like, I hope it was him. No, I don't have anything for or against Tiger Woods.
Strong Tiger Woods opinions on this cast.
I like literally know nothing about him except his real name is Eldrick Taunt Woods. Because I thought that was very funny when I learned that. Let's see.
I know that he's a horn dog.
Well, a lot of people are. I don't hold that against him too badly.
No, it's something I know.
I mean, I guess he did cheat on his wife, and that's super not cool. But I don't care that he like puts his things in other things, so long as it's consensual. What are we talking about? I feel like the car dealership is going to win, but I don't know if they should. I just feel like they might.
All right,
Austin.
Two for the car dealership. So Leon correctly identified a lot of the elements of this, and I think Johnny even hit on the biggest one, which was the right to revoke. And yes, the car dealership did have the right to revoke. At any time, they could have come, taken down their sign, or X'd it out, or got a megaphone and yelled like, "This isn't happening anymore." They could have revoked it, and they just didn't. Oops! They owe that man a car.
Awesome. I'm glad he got it.
Because
I keep assuming the bad guys are going to win because they usually do.
I mean, this guy had a golf club membership. I don't think he's like a scrappy underdog.
Oh shit! I forgot that people
Leon,
who go to golf courses are all assholes. Oh, I forgot.
While my uncle's car dealership in Pennsylvania is going under.
Yeah. Thanks, Leon.
I forgot that they're all a bunch of Donald Trumps. Shit.
Now, but
I made that mistake.
Some
in
of
my
them,
mind.
some of them are Mark Cubans.
But like somebody said earlier, like, what did it say on the sign that this was only for the thing? And like, no, and like that means it looks like an offer, and offers are not contingent on your secret inner idea of what they mean. Like if you say, I will give you $10, but you secretly mean $5, that doesn't, you can't have a secret hidden meaning. It needs to be what it says. So if the sign said, hit a hole in one, get a car, you gotta revoke that, or that's what it means. And yeah, we talk a lot about the rich people winning on this. And so I like to bring some of these weird ones where, it seems like the good guys win, but, I don't know that these would come out the same way in a lot of different states. I know Florida, we have pretty restrictive contest laws, so probably that would not have come out the same way in Florida. But it's just a fun, weird little story, even if it's actually probably not applicable to a lot of places. But that's Law Corner for the week. Thanks for playing.
Okay. Before we go into questions, I just want to say that how do I put this?
Yeah.
Why isn't the fact that Donald Trump is a Chinese pimp a bigger story?
It's the bed of nails, right? He does so many awful, impeachable, terrible things every single day that we can't focus on any one thing long enough for it to matter. Like
I have mixed feelings about it because I want sex workers to have, their rights and stuff. I don't want to be like a prude about this, but what I'm trying to say is
he was elected by the Family Values Party.
That's what I mean. He's a Republican. All his colleagues are Republicans. He has been put in power by Republicans. It is weird that's a thing. I mean, I have my issue with it is not just like for puritanical reasons, but also the fact that he has tons of foreign business holdings as a president of my country.
Weird. It's almost like ideology is a smokescreen to consolidate power. Huh.
Okay.
Tim Allen.
All right. We can do questions now. I just wanted to throw that out because it shows up on my timeline, but it just doesn't show up enough in the news because I also watch like regular news. And it's just, I feel like that's like the worst scandal I could think of, like a couple years ago.
They just can't keep up, is the thing.
Yeah.
Is it for like, and this is like one of the wretched things I've always hated about 24-hour cable news networks, is that ratings have suddenly become a thing, and it's like for ages it was just sort of like, what's the biggest thing that's happening this hour or this block, of like 3 hours or something like that. Okay, let's focus on that. Whereas now it's like, okay, the latest in. He said what? That was like 5 hours ago. Look what he's done since then. Oh my god.
Yeah, and apparently CNN is like the new poster child for like, I guess, the opposite Fox. That's a thing I'm hearing a lot from people on the right, being like, Fox is okay because you guys have CNN. And it's like, you mean those fuckers are still looking for that plane?
Yeah.
Like,
apparently they've never heard of MSNBC.
Like, I don't know her. I don't know none of these. None of these people are with me. I don't know none of them. They don't have my back.
Ain't nobody on my side except these two fuckers.
it's it's hard sometimes because there's such an aggressive move to depower journalism, to like remove it as a stabilizing force of democracy,
and yet Teen Vogue persists.
Yeah. Oh God, I love Teen Vogue.
But my point is that like there's so many legitimate, real, pressing concerns I have with the media and the press, but I feel like I shouldn't, or I feel pressured not to be as harsh because they're like the last line of defense. Like we need them so badly, and criticizing them feels like helping delegitimize media as like a bulwark of democracy. Does any of the words I just said make sense?
Yes, but they should be held to journalistic standards, of course.
Of course.
But you know, when Darth Vader is fighting the Emperor, I have to root for Darth Vader to throw him down the tube.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I hear
you.
you.
By the way, journalists are super important. I'm not saying that they're evil, or that they're part of the dark side. I'm just saying there are degrees of problematic.
Yeah. Look, all I'm saying is the Emperor yelled fake news at least once in Return of the Jedi.
No. Journalism's super important. I used to be in journalism adjacent fields. It's one of the things that we need to have a democracy at all. But they're doing so bad. They're doing so bad. And God, someone needs to fix them, but also calling them out feels like helping the bad guys. Anyway.
Yeah, so, we'll fix them when we fix the guy, the other thing. We can only do one thing at a time, apparently. I don't know.
Okay.
I used to work in a newspaper too, so I know it's super hard.
I mean, did you ever, Leon?
Which is a thing I don't think I ever talked about on the show.
Leon?
Okay. What?
Did you ever get the scoop?
No, it was my job to transcribe interviews of baseball players talking to interviewers.
So that's like scoop adjacent.
Dude. These are like retired baseball players telling their life stories.
Okay, that's not a scoop
and I could type fast and my grammar was good.
That's just indulgent.
It really is. Oh gosh.
Jeebus.
It was just a thing I had to do in college. Anyway, want to do questions? We super don't have time, but let's do it anyway.
We started a little late. Let's try to lightning round it. Sebastian Führer asks, "Will you start Dice Funk Season 3 right after the postmortem, or will there be a short break?" Nice finale, by the way. Thank you. The Sunday, let me check, the 12th. The next one after we're recording this current episode will be the postmortem, and then Sunday the 19th, 1 week directly after, episode 1 of season 3 will air. So there will be no break in activity on that podcast feed or on Patreon.
Yeah,
for most of us.
Unless you're using the wrong feed. If you're on a different RSS.
No, he means that Johnny won't be coming back for
I'm not going to be on it. If you listen to the postmortem already, then I'm taking a break for season 3.
Yeah.
I want to travel the internet. see memes that I've never seen before.
You want to backpack through Reddit for a season?
Yeah, absolutely. Bivouac down in a nice, Eastern European GIF.
It's a crime that we've stolen 3 hours a week from you for 2 years. I feel like
we had fun. The problem was just that season 1 really took it out of myself. Mm-hmm. I really did it to myself on season 1. So when I came back for season 2, I had a diminished amount of energy to be able to deal with it.
You literally created a character who was too depressed to talk, so you could talk less.
That was nobody ever really asked about that, but Austin and I have talked about that. I was like, this will allow me to do less on the podcast. Joke's on me, most popular player character.
Yep.
By a wide margin.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward because I've had a hard year too. Since last summer, some personal things have come up that I'm still kind of waiting for a little bit of water to settle before I talk about them on Word Funk. But so I think just even just having on the day we record on Tuesday, having that 90-minute block to do something a little more rejuvenating, I think will be really rewarding for me. So I'm looking forward to doing it. We had one Tuesday off like the other week because Skitch was off at GDC, and I got home on a Tuesday and I was like, oh my god, I can nap.
There's time now.
yeah, because it just the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday stretch for me is actually pretty rough. Yeah. It's like I wake up on a Tuesday and I don't stop going until like Friday afternoon, practically.
Oof. But I mean, the premise of the show was always that each season we'd have somebody new to shake things up, and also, absence makes the heart grow fonder. When you come back, it'll be triumphant, and everyone will just flood their basement.
And the guy who's coming in to replace me, I don't know if you've announced it yet, but no, I'm not going to spoil anything. Yeah. But you'll have fun.
Yeah, it should.
Oh, you'll have fun.
It's going to be pretty rowdy. Next question. I hope at least Johnny can pitch in on this one. Leon, you just kick your feet up, take a nice little break.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Right. Is this about music
or food? You won't even know what this is about, actually. Bright March asks, which guild of Ravnica would you join?
What is that?
I love this question.
I don't remember the Ravnica guilds, man.
Oh, okay.
What the fuck is that?
All right.
What are you talking about? You're making up words.
Ravnica was like, what, 2004? It
was a long time ago. Okay, so Magic the Gathering.
You are making this up.
No, there are 5 colors that make up Magic the Gathering. Black, white, red, green, blue. And in
2005. 2005 was Ravnica.
Okay, so it's been 12 years. Ravnica is a set that revolves around 10 guilds, which are each made up of a pair of each of the main 5 colors. So for every possible combination of those 5 colors, there is a guild. And each color kind of represents themes, and so the combination represents like the combined. Anyway, the important thing is this is kind of like an alternate version of the which Harry Potter house are you in game.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and I remember some of these. The Is It League. Yeah, absolutely. The Is It League. I have the hair for it.
I mean, I play Rakdos just because of boring strategic reasons, but they are also the cult of murderers. They're like super evil, and that's not like my Harry Potter personality test. Rakdos is like the super worst morally. So I don't know which one I'm most personality wise. You'd think it'd be a better one. Maybe. I also like Demir, black, blue. They're like the secret, morally questionable assassin people who are like hiding, and they're like kind of like a secret guild. Anyway, the point is, Leon, you need to play Magic the Gathering so we can have talks about lore, about cards, card lore.
Oh,
Leon, don't do it.
No,
don't do it. Coming in 30 years after the fact is just like there's too much shit to absorb. If it were something else, like if it were something a little bit more casual and something that they didn't just try and fucking reinvent every year to amp card sales, I'd be like, yeah, you could have fun. But like, it's like when they announced the new Mass Effect, they were gonna like, by the way, there's gonna be 3 novels in between. I'm like, nah, fuck that.
So the thing that,
guys,
I'm having trouble finishing my first Ian Banks novel, and he's good. So
okay,
I know, Leon, you have to go.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. God,
I was just gonna say the way that the specific thing they do to try to remedy the fact that it's impossible to catch up is that there's a couple different ways you can play Magic. There's like Legacy, Vintage, Modern, and then Standard, which is just the cards printed in the last 2 years. Nothing else matters except for what's been printed in the last 2 years, and so that's much easier to catch up in. So theoretically, you could get on board if you just played Standard. I'm the kind of person who is not content with that, so obviously I know a bunch of weird, pointless shit.
Yeah, Austin's got to like sew himself up a quilt of all the cards that he had, and then like roll himself up in it to like get into the mind space first. Your skills of absorption, Austin, are impressive, but I just can't live like that anymore.
Yeah, I will burn out someday. I got a lot of questions for the postmortem, like, how did you keep all the characters straight? And it's like, oh, I'm just broken inside. That's sorry I didn't answer that in the postmortem. I'm wired wrong is the answer to that one. I don't know. It's just my brain. Let's see here.
I took notes during the first season to remember all the characters, and then I forgot to in the second season.
Oops.
Which I feel explains a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it helped that your character would not remember things in character, right?
You know what really helps me, Austin?
What?
Flavor text.
I'm going to flavor your text.
Thank you, Leon. That makes me feel better. I feel like all of my labors were not wasted. Only most of them.
All right, let's do another question before we go.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Cosmignon, the Ink Master General, wants to know, have you ever noticed certain tropes or trends or character types that show up in all the media you like? So is there like one thing that unifies like all your favorite stuff?
Oh, that's interesting.
I spotted this question earlier, so I had a little head start on the thinking, and I feel like a lot of my favorite stuff is about like a group of dissimilar people coming together to have like a cool party. That's what's like a lot of JRPGs. That's even, I was actually thinking about this. It's kind of Mad Max Fury Road. It's like Max and then Furiosa and then the Brides and then Nux. And they're like, at the end, they're kind of like a JRPG party. It's also like every D&D campaign. It's Mass Effect, all the BioWare games. It's like kind of one of my favorite tropes is just like a bunch of weirdos who are friends against all odds.
People
Avatar.
overcoming damage.
Sad boys.
That's a big one for me. People overcoming damage, and I mean that's obviously there's no secret why that would appeal to me and things like that, But like some of my favorite movies and TV shows and things like that deal with people coping with trauma, people coping with tragedy, people coping with a series of unfortunate events. I mean, that wasn't like a specific shout out, just it was kind of like there for the taking. So, okay. But yeah, that's definitely an underlying a digging theme for me. Across a variety of genres too. Like one of my favorite TV shows, like comedies. My favorite comedies, like Arrested Development and Community and things like that, oftentimes are about like ridiculously damaged people. To the point that it's funny, almost. It's absurd. But then, at the end of the episode, they learn something about themselves. Aw. And
I'm looking through...
aren't we just a little more human because of it?
Okay.
Of course, then I also like the movie Dread, because it's awesome!
So good. It really is. I'm looking through my list of my favorite movies, and with a few exceptions, but not many, all of the protagonists are deeply sad about the state of their lives. I don't know if that means anything. It could just be like hero's journey something. They need to overcome something. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't have the kind of arc that when it ends, they're like a better person. In many cases, they're just worse. I don't know if that means anything specific to me, or if it just that's the way certain directors do. They are at times a introspective sort, but that is the common thread that I'm noticing whilst looking at my 30 favorite film list I made. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a lot of films that are about like happy people who don't need anything and they don't change or have any conflict. No. That would be interesting.
Right? Though. No. I don't mean people who are like, oh, I have a problem and then I've overcome it. I mean like,
yeah. No, I'm saying
Stalker.
But like, is there anything like that? Sorry, this is kind of a tangent. Can you think of any piece of media where there's like no conflict or transformation or anything, or it's just like here's a cool dude. Here's this cool dude day. I'm just kind of interested in thinking of an example.
Slice of life anime.
Holy shit!
It's an entire genre.
Yeah, that's okay. You win.
Oh my god! Every episode of Asamanga Daioh is like that.
Also, Garfield.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, there was the one where
he hates Mondays.
Yeah, but I consider Garfield the antagonist. I'm saying with John, what does John have to overcome? But I remember there was a time where he drank cat semen or whatever. Or
I've always been of the opinion that John has to overcome FAS,
which is.
I really want to go back on this joke now because now I have to explain that.
I'm sorry, I messed
Fetal
up.
alcohol syndrome.
Yikes! Oof. Rough stuff, dudes.
Wow, you just went for it, and I respect the attempt.
Yeah, I just didn't recognize the acronym.
See, explaining the joke.
Yep.
Also, I'm just not familiar enough about Garfield to make like any really good Garfield jokes.
And yet you went with semen.
That's just a comic panel I've seen 1,000 times on Twitter. Anytime someone wants to dunk on Garfield. Okay, last one, because I think we're out of time. Darkent Reltnark asks, any cryptic clue about next season of Dice Funk for us to obsess over? So I talked a little bit about the pre-production
Didn't you leave
stuff.
A cryptic clue at the end of the final episode?
I did, yeah, and some people
I listened to it.
are having fun.
Wait, people don't listen to the end, do they?
And there will almost certainly be stuff like that for the postmortem as well. But I just want to say real quick that each season is supposed to contrast with the other ones. So obviously, like the first season was fire, second season was water, third season will be another element. We have like different like character races. Like first one was humans, second one was like animal people, third will be something else. We also have like different story themes that I'll be bringing, and you guys will be obviously bringing crazy different stuff as players. But the one thing I wanted to say that I forgot to say in the postmortem was influences, because like the first season was like Chinatown and the second was like Princess Bride. Some of the stuff that I've been thinking about for season 3 are like rural town stories, so like Twin Peaks, Hot Fuzz, Diamond
True
is
Detective.
Diamond is Unbreakable.
True Detective. Sorry.
That's the famous theme song, yeah.
That's a little bit,
That's
a little
how it
bit of
goes.
hot dad for you there. He's the man of your dreams. True Detective.
So undoubtedly, the players will totally upset that apple cart, and it'll turn out nothing like I planned. But if you're looking for a vibe, that is the one I'm going to bring. We'll see how it comes out in the end. But those are the things I have planned. I already know some of the stuff is going to get just dirt nasty. Like Leon in the first episode is going to immediately start digging under the tracks and laying traps.
Yeah, I have. I don't want to reveal too much about my character. The way I initially planned it, my character would to be as silly as Violet. I decided just yesterday, nah.
It's still hella silly, but it went from like a 15 out of 10 to like an 11 out of 10.
Yeah,
you pulled up just a bit.
Yeah, there is going to be enough serious stuff with my character that he's going to be somewhere between Ronaldo and Violet. Like, yeah. Like not quite Violet.
All right, so that's the season.
There you go.
Get your predictions in. There's a thread on the forums, or just wait
I'm not going
2 weeks.
Saying any more than that. Yeah.
Or I guess 1 week. This episode, Word Funk usually goes up on the weekend, so it'll be like 1 week. But that's the episode. Anything else? I know usually you ask for closing remarks. I'm doing it this week. Bite me.
Okay, I don't mind.
I just didn't know how to end the sentence, so I got aggressive.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Hey,
the mood in a room can be irrevocably altered. Depending on whether or not the furniture is screwed to the floor.
Okay. I've learned to not question these things. I'm also looking for Inquisition of Kozilek and Thoughtseize. If anybody has either of those cards lying around, let me know. You know where to find me.
I'm not digging through my old Magic cards for you, Austin.
I know. I expect to get literally 0 responses. I just think it's funny when I say shit like that. Leon, your thing.
Just looking through my list of movies. Is The Tree of Life considered a good ending? Maybe not. I know when Only God Forgives, his hands are gone. I mean, that's not good.
Spoilers.
Not for him, but I mean, when you think about it in a broader moral sense.
I like that movie. Come at me.
I don't know if anyone really ends up well in No Country for Old Men. I'm looking at all these movies.
I got that. I actually got only got Forgives on Blu-ray for Christmas this last Christmas, Austin. So I don't have to fight you. We can have
Everybody
a sleepover.
else.
I forget how Persona ends. That's weird. I've seen it like, you know what? I'm gonna watch that later. I'm done.
They fight
I'm done talking.
Nyarlathotep.
No, I don't know what that means. Stop.
That's how the first video game Persona ends.
Oh God! Someone tried to commission me to make a Renegade cut about a video game, and I could not have said no harder.
Yikes!
What
like,
what video game was it? Persona?
No, it was Metal Gear Solid. It doesn't matter what it was. There's like no way I'm gonna do it.
I mean, like,
that would take a whole year.
There are some games that you could very easily do.
Sure, but I'm not going to open up the show to things
absolutely
that are not movies.
No,
that would create
I'm not even suggesting that you should, but doing Metal Gear Solid is like the worst step you could even take in that direction.
No, it's the second worst. The worst is Kingdom Hearts.
Ooh.
Absolutely impossible. No human could ever accomplish it.
I feel gross just thinking about it. I'm going to go now.
Okay.